So hey guys, it's Zion again, and it's been a while, I know, but we're back on Battlefield 4, and let me go full disclosure and say that this video would have been a Call of Duty Ghosts video. Oh, I know, dislike now, unfavorite, unsub, blah blah blah. But I can't actually record any Call of Duty Ghosts because DxTory doesn't play very nice with Call of Duty Ghosts. And while I do enjoy that game for what it is, I do not enjoy it as a Call of Duty title, I don't enjoy it as a good first-person shooter, I enjoy it as a momentary, masochistic distraction from the actual games that I want to be playing, which are Battlefield 4 and Assassin's Creed 4. Unfortunately, I will not be getting Assassin's Creed 4 on PC release, I do not have the money. So, it will be Battlefield primarily from me, for at least the foreseeable future until whenever Infinity Ward decides that they don't want to shit on PC gamers anymore, and actually put out a serviceable patch that makes it so that I can actually use DxTory and not have to use some stupid program that has an overlay. But that's not really my point today. Instead, I want to talk about something that's been on my mind a little bit as the shooter season 2013 has ramped up, and that is parallel design. And the basic definition of parallel design is two teams independent of each other, in this case DICE and the new Infinity Ward, thinking along very similar lines. If you've played Call of Duty Ghosts at all, I don't suggest that you do, but if you have, you know that there are these dynamic map elements with giant air quotes that I'm actually making with my hands right now. And you have Battlefield 4, which actually has dynamic map elements. The problem that comes with having an engine like the old Quake 3 Arena engine that's just been updated and updated and updated versus actually completely revamping a new engine, which is Frostbite, you have to take into account that Frostbite was built from the ground up with destruction in mind. So DICE has, I think, I don't know this, I don't know the back-end code of Frostbite, I'm not a developer, you could ask a buddy of mine who's in the games industry about this, but for the most part, Frostbite can handle destruction because the physics engine inherent to the engine itself is built for it. Whereas with a game like Call of Duty, everything has to be sort of shoved in. It has to be jackhammered in. I've been talking a lot about elegant solutions with my friends, and the elegant solution between the two of them is Battlefield. Battlefield has the elegant destruction solution because, again, and I'm repeating myself here, the engine, Frostbite 3 or 2.5 or whatever it is, was designed with destruction and map changeability in mind. And so, DICE has the elegant solution. They have the solution that is, while not necessarily easy to implement, it is still easier than what the Infinity Ward people have to do, and I really think that while they were certainly taking a lot of cues from Battlefield with their destruction engine, it doesn't work because Call of Duty maps were never built to be destructible. There was never an ideal design for a Call of Duty map with destruction in it. And so they never had access to the elegant solution. Instead, they had to do the opposite of the elegant solution, beat it over the head with a sledgehammer, which they did. And some of what they did works. I think the Chem Strike on Strike Zone, if you've played that map, it's one of the few actually serviceable maps in that game. That works. That's very much a Battlefield-esque change to the map, and I think that works. And that's probably as elegant as the Infinity Ward got. But it wasn't actually that elegant because the Strike Zone Chem Strike change is really just the same map layout completely reskinned. It's two maps for the price of one. One just looks a little bit more broken than the other, whereas in Battlefield, the map starts out whole, much as Strike Zone does, but through the process of play, through the action of the entire team, both teams, that is to say, the map changes, or at least it changes as much as it is possible to change and keep balance. You can't nuke an island and have it not be there and have the map stay balanced, because if the C flag suddenly disappears, how's that supposed to work? But back to my earlier point of parallel design. And I think in the games industry, parallel design is not necessarily always what happens. Instead, Battlefield probably released a whole bunch of stuff like they have to, because EA's like, you will beat Call of Duty or we will fire you. And then Infinity Ward took some of this and said, we should implement this. But the problem that Infinity Ward has was it feels like to me that their dynamic maps concept was an afterthought. And it probably was, in all honesty. Battlefield, of course, again, built with destruction in mind. Call of Duty trying to reinvigorate a dying franchise. And what really sort of got my thought process on this parallel design concept was the contextual lean system. If you're a lifelong PC gamer, you will probably remember that back in the day of Quake, of the early Call of Duties, of Medal of Honor, of any serviceable PC title, there was this thing called lean. And on the Q and the E keys, you could lean left and right respectively. Now, the lean wasn't substantial, it wasn't particularly usable, but in some circumstances, you could gain a tactical advantage by leaning around a corner. And in recent years, for some god-awful reason, developers of shooters have said to themselves, we don't want to put lean in our games, even though there's a huge history of it in the PC titles. And you could blame consoles for that and the lack of a keyboard and a lot of buttons, but I still think it would probably be pretty easy to put that in there. Call of Duty 4 was the last main shooter that I know of to add lean. And of course you could say Right Orchestra has it, because it does, but I wouldn't call that a primary shooter. It's very much a niche thing. But then of course you come to Battlefield 4 and Ghost. It's Modern Warfare 4, just a different name. And they have a contextual lean system where if you're looking around a corner in the right direction, you will lean. And I think it's a step in the right direction. That's an elegant solution. In practice, I don't know if it works in the way they wanted it to, but I think it is as close as cross-platform lean as we are going to come by. And again, I don't know if this was something that Infinity Ward put out and then Battlefield said, oh, that's easy to implement, let's do that. Or Battlefield put it out and Infinity Ward put it out and then found out via E3 or GDC or whatever that, wow, we were thinking along the exact same lines. And that fact could be true. Even if, for everything that I've talked about, the dynamic maps, the evolution, the leaning, the focus on infantry combat, the focus on players changing the maps for themselves, this all could have happened completely parallel, completely separate from each other. Infinity Ward could have done it, and DICE could have done it at the exact same time with no interconnection between the two, and we would never know. I could, of course, say that Infinity Ward just was lazy and took everything that Battlefield was doing and tried to implement it at the last minute. And judging by how Ghosts feels on the PC, I think they were actually rather lazy. I had this image in my head of Infinity Ward just playing foosball for 8 hours instead of, coding their game or fixing their spawns or doing quality testing on the mechanics. Because some of the changes they made and some of the weapons there and some of the maps, they're absolutely awful. And again, it might be parallel design because Battlefield 4's got some pretty terrible maps for certain game modes. Rush, on the map you're seeing now, Paracel Storm, a travesty. But, that being said, I think that the problem that both of these shooters are coming to is that they're trying to design maps for so many different types of game modes. And especially with a map as large as Battlefield, because just this domination map on Paracel Storm is the size of a large Call of Duty map. So both Infinity Ward and DICE were in a similar situation. It's just that DICE didn't have Activision breathing down their necks to get a game built in 18 months. And they used Battlefield 3 as a beta, whereas Modern Warfare 3 was just about as broken as Ghosts is.